You have the fucking Progressive Caucus bragging about supporting war. Oh my God. Well, we've been looking for an anti-war faction within our government for some time now, right? Somehow some conservatives have ended up piping up, and some of the craziest ones, by the way, which don't help the cause. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, you guys could like Matt Gaetz, like y'all aren't really helping anything by having opinions or speaking up really ever. You don't even help the Republicans or conservatives in general. You definitely don't help the anti-war effort, because now if anybody who wants to say, hey, like, let's rethink this Ukraine thing gets lumped in with you guys, which makes them look like a kook because you can't behave yourselves like adults. Anyways, we were looking for this anti-war faction for a minute, and we thought we had it. Maybe we had it. The Progressive Caucus. Oh my God. Maybe progressives are going to actually be anti-war for 5 minutes. So they sent this over to Joe Biden. This beautiful little piece of work here. It says, "Dear Mr. President, we write with appreciation for your commitment to Ukraine's legitimate struggle against Russia's war of aggression. Your support for the self-defense of an independent, sovereign, and democratic state has been supported by Congress, including through various appropriations of military, economic, and humanitarian aid in furtherance of this cause. Your administration's policy was critical to enable the Ukrainian people through their courageous fighting and heroic sacrifices to deal a historic military defeat to Russia, forcing Russia to dramatically scale back its stated goals for the invasion." I'm not sure that's 100% true, but we'll just go with that. Crucially, you have achieved this while also maintaining that it is imperative to avoid direct military conflict with Russia, which would lead to World War III, something we must strive to prevent. Oh, really? That right there is absolutely criminal. To even suggest that World War III is something we should avoid makes you a Putin apologist, a pro-Russian propagandist, a tool of the Kremlin. The risk of nuclear weapons being used has been estimated to be higher now than any time since the height of the Cold War. Given the catastrophic possibilities of nuclear escalation and miscalculation, which only increase the longer this war continues, we agree with your goal of avoiding direct military contact as an overriding national security priority. Given the destruction created by this war for Ukraine and the world, as well as the risk of catastrophic escalation, we also believe it is in the interest of Ukraine, the United States, and the world to avoid a prolonged conflict. For this reason, we urge you to pair the military and economic support the United States has provided to Ukraine with a proactive diplomatic push, redoubling efforts to seek a realistic framework for a ceasefire. This is consistent with your recognition that there is going to have to be a negotiated settlement here, and your concern that Vladimir Putin doesn't have a way out right now, and I'm trying to figure out what we can do about that. That's a quote from the president, kind of. We are under no illusions regarding the difficulties involved in engaging Russia, given its outrageous and illegal invasion of Ukraine and its decision to make additional illegal annexations of Ukrainian territory. However, if there is a way to end the war while preserving a free and independent Ukraine, it is America's responsibility to pursue every diplomatic avenue to support such a solution that is acceptable to the people of Ukraine. Such a framework would presumably include incentives and hostilities, including some form of sanctions relief, and bring together the international community to establish security guarantees for a free and independent Ukraine that are acceptable for all parties, particularly Ukrainians. The alternative to diplomacy is protracted war with both its attendant certainties and catastrophic and unknowable risks. But anyway, so what they're saying here, and this goes on and on, they keep saying more and more of the same thing. People have died, things are going on. It's a very, like, this is a very, like, they're sitting here and they're like stroking Joe Biden's ego, right? Like, you've done a great job. You've done a great job so far. We agree with you so far, but hey, maybe just for a minute, can we think about diplomacy? Can we kind of think about diplomacy for just a minute? I know it sounds crazy, but maybe just for a hot second, let's entertain the idea of not blowing up the entire planet over the Donbass region, right? I get it. I love we love what you've done so far with the place, but hey, there's a few little adjustments we can make in pushing for diplomacy and then maybe getting to the negotiating table, because the longer this thing escalates and this becomes a forever invasion, right? An occupation, the higher the risk of nuclear war are. Worth noting, there have been a handful of times where we almost accidentally got ourselves in nuclear war. Submarines, a bear one time climbed a fence and set off a sensor, and somebody hit the wrong button and almost launched a nuke into Russia over a black bear who got over a fence. I mean, it's crazy, right? What Alan Dulles and his whole crew at the CIA wanted to do in Cuba, thinking that they didn't have nuclear warheads yet, when they did have nuclear warheads, that would have started a nuclear war. Cold War was a crazy time. The Cuban Missile Crisis was a crazy time. And we're back in it right now. This is as dangerous of a time as now. So maybe we should consider diplomacy because maybe the Donbass region of Ukraine isn't worth World War III. That doesn't seem that controversial. Maybe we should have a little bit of oversight with what we spend over there, what weapons are going over there. Maybe a little bit of oversight. Still give them to them. Still give them the money. Still give them the weapons. A little bit of oversight. Maybe we try to push some diplomacy here, right? Maybe there's a solution here that we don't need pre-qualifiers. Maybe Zelensky, whose country only exists because America is propping it up right now, right? Because if we didn't, then it would just be gone. So America's propping you up right now. Maybe you don't get to make all the decisions. Maybe you get to make decisions based on what we say you're allowed to do, right? Or we could just quit funding you forever, right? That's what puppets do. So puppet, right? That's how this is going. But no, this created outrage, right? This was released, it was on the 24th, October 24th, 2022. On the 25th, the Progressive Trademark Caucus just withdrew their bullshit letter, which was already meaningless in the first place. What a pathetic farce. For a Congressional Progressive Caucus Chair statement on Ukraine letter. Now let's see who signed this thing. Let's see, go back. AOC, Pramila Jayapal, she's a joke. Ro Khanna. Yeah, so let's go back here. Representative Pramila Jayapal, chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, issued the following statement on a letter sent regarding Ukraine. The Congressional Progressive Caucus hereby withdraws its recent letter to the White House regarding Ukraine. These fucking cowards. You're cowards. You went in with softballs. You went in saying, hey, please, mister, please, can we have a little diplomacy, please? No? Okay, fine. I forget that I ever asked. What the is wrong with you? That's not what anti-war people do. Oh, the letter was drafted several months ago, but unfortunately was released by staff without vetting. Are you serious? How could you have vetted that to make it any more weak? It was a nothing burger to begin with. It had zero teeth and you have zero balls. What are you going to do? You're going to vet it and make it a little bit softer, right? You want to draw nice pictures on it, hearts and rainbows? What the As chair of the caucus, I accept responsibility for this. Well, I'm glad we know who to blame then. Because of the timing, our message has been conflated by some as being equivalent to the recent statements by Republican leader McCarthy threatening to end the aid to Ukraine if Republicans take over, which is why a lot of people are voting for them, by the way. It's a secret. It's a secret now, but a lot of people don't want to spend billions and billions of dollars in Ukraine over the goddamn Donbass region. I know that's hard for you to understand, but it's true. The proximity of these statements created the unfortunate appearance that Democrats who have strongly and unanimously supported and voted for every package of military, strategic, and economic assistance to Ukraine. Let's listen to what this broad is bragging about. The proximity, God forbid we agree with Republicans on anything, even though it's like the most popular thing in the American population because democracy, right? The proximity of these statements created the unfortunate appearance that Democrats who have strongly and unanimously supported war and voted for every package of military, strategic, and economic assistance to the Ukrainian people are somehow aligned with Republicans who seek to pull the plug on American support for President Zelensky and the Ukrainian forces. You have the Progressive Caucus bragging about supporting war. Oh my God. The Progressive Caucus in the United States Congress, chaired by Pramila Jayapal, is proud of her support for war and ashamed of her request for diplomacy. What fucking world are we living in? What in the fuck is this, dude? How does this make any sense? This is an episode of Black Mirror. We're living in an episode of Black Mirror right now. Oh my God. Nothing could be further from the truth. Every war ends with diplomacy. What? That you just forgot that reality exists, right? Every war ends with diplomacy, and this one will too after a Ukrainian victory. That's not diplomacy. That's a fantasy world you're living in. The Donbass is gone. Crimea is gone. Put the rest of Ukraine in the EU and let it go. It's over with. It's where we're going. It's where we've been going. How many people need to die before you get there? And that's, to be honest with you, Pramila Jayapal, as if you can't see what's right in front of your face, as if you can't see that. That's the best case scenario. The best case scenario for Ukraine and the rest of the world is that the Donbass region is gone. And Crimea is gone. It's Russia now. It's over. And the rest of Ukraine gets to go be in the EU, maybe join NATO, whatever. But that shit, gone. That's the best case scenario. You know what the worst case scenario is? Pramila Jayapal, you pro-war bitch. The worst case scenario is fucking mushroom clouds. Mushroom clouds. Your district in New York, gone. No longer exists. Poof. Snapped by fucking Thanos. Gone. That's the worst case scenario. But you're so scared to align with Mitch McConnell, which I get it, man. I had to vote for a couple of Republicans on the ballot just the other day. I don't like doing it. I don't love doing it. It's not fun for me. But you're so scared of aligning with Republicans on something, and Twitter bots calling you names with 17 Ukrainian flags in their bio, which are clearly not real people. Let's just be honest about that. You're so scared of that you're willing to support more war. You're willing to push us through. Everything you said that letter was very soft, but also accurate about the threats that could be possible in this reality. But instead of having principles and courage, which is what I'm assuming people voted for you pretending you would do, kind of like AOC has become a nothing burger too, but seems to have run on something. The letter sent yesterday, although restraining that basic principle, has been conflated with GOP opposition to support for the Ukrainians' just defense of their sovereignty. As such, it is a distraction at this time, and we withdraw the letter. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, man. This is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. Wow. I mean, it just doesn't seem real. It doesn't seem real at all. I don't know what to think. It's like clearly in the letter, it clearly states, that's the thing is like, you can't even be like, hey, I'm going to defend what we said in this letter because it clearly states that we were in support of further support for Ukraine and also pairing that with the conditions of diplomacy and diplomatic efforts. That's non-controversial. If you put that out to the majority, if you put that as a vote in the United States, 90% of people will be like, yeah, let's do that. Let's pair aid with the call for diversity. Or diversity, excuse me. That's what they want. Like, hey, there's more trans people in Ukraine, then it'd be fine. No, the call for diplomacy. And that's what most people want. But that's not what we're going to get. We're going to get progressives apologizing for seeking diplomacy. That's the world we live in. And Marjorie Taylor Greene calling for an end to the funding. I mean, I'll say this. I was going to pull out my ballot. I'm going to do this before, maybe on the next show, and go through like what I would consider a politically homeless ballot to look like. And I was listening to and I looked at like local debates on local news. I found them on YouTube. And one of the guys who's kind of an election denier, to be honest with you, who has changed his tune on that a little bit, but we were talking, the woman who was running against him, neither one of them were incumbents, was a state senator, and had nothing to say, nothing remarkable to say whatsoever. It was like, I could have predicted everything she had to say. And this guy was like, hey, I think we should still keep funding Ukraine, but I think it needs oversight. I'm like, I'm voting for that guy. I'm voting for that guy. I want that guy in Congress. And he's probably going to win. His name was like Ackland or some shit. I don't even know. But because he said, hey, we need oversight. I don't think we should stop helping, but it at least needs oversight. And we need to live within our means. We can't keep spending money like this and blowing it all in Ukraine when we have people that don't have fresh water. Yeah. Clean water. I mean, come on. It's like I got my vote on that one topic, and I'm not the only American that feels that way. If you think that I'm more attractive than Ben Shapiro, then you should probably subscribe to this YouTube channel. I mean, what other political commentator has this kind of fucking bone structure? Really? Let's be serious now. You have to look at these YouTube videos. You have to look at them. Do I need to say anything else? Watch some more of these videos. Subscribe. Leave a comment. Hit the thumbs up button. This is the only thing keeping me from having to have an OnlyFans. Just to survive. Watch some more content. Hit that thumbs up button.